Hey guys, Dr. Kosciuszko here. Um, I just wanted to touch base about a subject that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I've taken kind of the last week to just kind of grieve. So I ended up having to close my practice and just do virtual health online. And so I just wanted to take the last week to really grieve that, grieve the loss of, relationships with the patients who I've cared for so long, grieve the loss of everything that I had created and built for so long. And so I just wanted to share some things that I've learned during this time. We're coming up on about 6 weeks of quarantine here. And I know for many of you, this came with abrupt lifestyle transitions. So I wanted to mention that because, I understand how challenging it can be and what it's bringing up. One thing that I've really come to think about more is kind of what I titled this video, like the birth of burnout, and how so many of us are getting to a point of burnout. I know for me in practice, I didn't have to get to a point of burnout, but just looking back, I've seen myself get to burnout multiple times in practice. Some of them being pushing through practicing when I was pregnant. And so a lot of that comes from patterning, you know. And so I think it's important to touch on this subject because I think a lot of people might be feeling this right now. And just like the differences in, your lifestyle now versus, what it was. And if you are having difficulty with this transition, what I would suggest is taking some time to understand it and kind of get in touch with what you are feeling, and really think about what was working for you in your life and what wasn't, or how things were healthy and non-healthy. And it's because one of the things that happens with burnout is typically burnout is birthed through our wiring and our patterning. So it's birthed through our neurology. If you were in a previous environment that was, whether it was childhood, whether it was a previous marriage that was stressful or chaotic or anything, our bodies and minds, if they're wired for stress, this is why I talk about kind of childhood trauma. If you were somebody, this is particularly in patterning that I've seen with patients, and some of my own is patients who have been brought up either in, particularly, this also pertains, I've read some research on this subject, people with health issues and, more, I guess, more of these patterns of burnout and codependency and things like this. It really stems a lot more from emotional neglect, especially during growth. So that's something that's really important too, and that might be coming up. So many things might be coming up for us, and it's important to understand that the society that we live in, is very bred to burnout and numbing. So emotional numbing is very common in our society. And so if you are feeling like the urge or the pull to go back to work, to go back to things, the way things were, it's important to understand why and what is going on inside of you with those patterns, okay? Because it's truly going to give you a wealth of knowledge and understanding yourself and what needs to be rewired. I'm sorry, my internet connection is really bad right now, so my video might be skipping around a little bit. But that's really important to understand, is because if you come from an environment where there was, hey Lily, can you take it down? Just very, very inside voices whispering, okay? Thank you, honey. Um, if you come from an environment where there was either stress, it doesn't even have to be domestic violence. It could have been an environment that was highly stressful or chaotic. Your body gets used to that being the normal for you, and so sometimes our bodies actually like crave, have like almost like an addiction to that pattern that we're not fulfilling. So if you are somebody who is in a burnout cycle, and you're suddenly abruptly stopped, it's important to understand what is going on and take a step back and look at. This is a great opportunity. This time right now is a great opportunity to look at our patterns, to look at our emotional health, to look at our physical health, and to look at what our lifestyle was kind of trying to tell us in some ways. Um, so if you are somebody who has been a product of emotional neglect, or potentially a parent with codependency, or you were taking on a lot of parental roles, you were a caregiver a lot, or potentially you had a narcissistic type of parent, what happens is you tend to get this chronic self-neglect. So you're consistently trying to fulfill needs for others. You're consistently trying to help other people. You're consistently, it's almost like a wiring. And if you're not aware of it, it will also lead you down the path of burnout. That is one avenue and potential from birth of burnout. So that's important to understand. The second one, again, is the societal aspect. So the societal aspect of burnout. How many of us are like, I know in New England, the slogan for the coffee shop, that I totally have grown up on, was Dunkin' Donuts, and then like America runs on Dunkin', right? It's very hustle and bustle around here. And so there's a lot of marketing for coffee. There's a lot of marketing for unhealthy things. There's a lot of marketing for binge watching Netflix. There's a lot of marketing for fast foods, fast paced. There's a lot of these normal societal things that we have gotten ourselves into the patterns of utilizing for our own convenience to continue this hustle and bustle. But now that we are forced to stop, it's really important to understand where those things play into our lives, and are they serving us? So if you are somebody who's in a hustle and bustle job, if you are somebody who that's not in alignment with you, if you are somebody who is, chronically tired and burnt out, this comes with a lot of detriments to your health. So being in a chronic state of self-neglect is not only detrimental for your emotional health and then the health of those around you, but also for your physical health. So that will really create so much of your stress hormones to elevate, your cortisol to elevate. It will, in fact, create problems with your hormones. Typically, there will be a large hormone imbalance because of this. It will create a situation in your body that creates immune dampening. So this is not a situation that, like, we're all coming into this pandemic, and if we are in a state of burnout, it's important to try and recognize that, to try and bring yourself out of that. Um, and it was amazing to kind of look back and see in myself, as I was taking this time to grieve, like, wow, the things that I've chose to do and chose to, like the areas that I've chose to bring my life, whether it be past relationships or jobs or anything like that. It's like this continual, I've always chose to keep myself on like hyperdrive, Um, so it's amazing to see that and then step back. I had the great opportunity this week to um, kind of discover more about my own self. I did my first painting that I've ever done in my life. with my daughter, um, doing simple things like gardening, really getting into like the help with burnout is really getting into getting out of that sympathetic nervous system response and that stress response and getting into the parasympathetic nervous system and the creative mind. That's really important. So doing things to help bring down the stress response. Lifestyle is key. So, things that you can do for yourself, doing things to help soothe your nervous system. So, one of those things would be limit how much exposure that you do with the media. Okay. And so, if you are, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a lot of people that are very scared, that are very, you see so much on social media and Facebook, it can drive you absolutely insane. There's so many different differences in opinion. There's people who do not believe in the pandemic at all, and are going out and preaching freedom and rights and everything, which I definitely understand that, because this is a challenging time. It's going to bring up a lot for everybody. And so those people are choosing to stand up for themselves and their rights. And then there's people who are, posting, who are from the ICU and what they're experiencing. And so all of us are having these collaboration of experiences as the human race right now, and we're coming from all different walks of life. So if you are continually searching online or on Facebook or anything, it can drive you insane, because everybody's going to have a different experience. Everybody's going to come from a different viewpoint. Everybody's going to have a different belief system or whatever. And it's important, obviously, during this time to do what's best for you. Try to make the best decisions possible based off of factual information. And whatever your belief system is around that. And try and keep your stress levels down. The media does, I will say that the media thrives and gets more clicks. They will put out more of what they get more clicks on. So if they're putting out more things on deaths and negativity, they're going to put more stuff out because they're getting more clicks on that. So it depends on us as the consumers to, if that's not serving you, then it's not something you control, something to try and limit for yourself. Okay. It's good to stay informed. It's not good to be addicted to social media and freak yourself out and sit there at 3:00 in the morning reading every article that you can about like the hundreds of thousands of deaths that are happening right now. Okay. It's important to have compassion, obviously, for everybody, but it's also important to understand what we can and can't control. Okay. So with that, I would highly recommend the sympathetic nervous system, getting that decrease in response, decreasing your media exposure, getting outside. Okay. If you are somebody, for me, that's a little bit easier. I have a larger backyard. I have places to walk around. You may not have that, and you may be in an apartment complex on a main road. So if you are somebody who is having, difficulty with a lot of stress, or you're cooped up, it's important to find somewhere, even if you drive to a place that is not as popular, and you walk around a little bit. If you have to wear a mask, I don't really think that wearing a mask outside is effective. I really don't. I think that does more harm than good. That's my personal opinion. It's important to get outside and get oxygen and fresh air. It's important for your immune system. It's important for you to get exercise and vitamin D. So especially right now, your body needs vitamin D. Vitamin D helps to fight depression. It helps with your immune system. It is very important. If you're not doing supplementation right now in vitamin D3, then you need to be getting outside and getting the sunlight, because that's basically the only other way that you get vitamin D is through supplementation or sunlight. Okay. There is some fortification in dairy products, and some juices and things like that. It's really not going to be the amount that you need. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're getting outside, getting the fresh air, getting movement. These are all things that are going to decrease that sympathetic response and increase the parasympathetics. It's going to decrease that wiring for stress, and it's going to increase the wiring for more of that relaxation and being present. Okay, that's the whole point here. That has a lot of effect on your physiology. It's not just the emotional health aspect and piece of that of burnout will translate into physical disease. Okay, there are multitudes of studies that show how things like excuse me, anxiety, depression, or if you've been in, especially if it's linked to neglect or abuse, things like that, this leads and translates into physical health problems. Okay. And I know there's a lot of people right now who domestic violence is definitely going up. There's been more calls, which is so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. It's important to understand that there's many people right now that are feeling trapped and helpless. This is one of the reasons why even suicide rates are going up. There's a lot of people who are feeling trapped and hopeless, and they don't know where to turn. There's a lot of people having difficulty with managing anything that's coming up for them, or being in the environment that they so desperately try to get out of every day. Okay. So if you are one of those people, it's very important for you, no matter what, to take care of yourself, and to make sure that you are keeping yourself as safe as possible. Not a time to ignore and kind of distract and numb. This is really a time to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and that you are healthy and that you're safe. So if you are somebody who has burnout, or if you know anybody who has who's having a really hard challenge right now, there's a lot that can be done with just simple compassion for people. Just reaching out. If you know somebody who is suffering or is anxious or having a hard time right now, please reach out to them. If you see a lot of negative things on their social media and they look like they're having a hard time, reach out. Social isolation can really increase stress and decrease immunity. It really can. Like, what we're doing is yes, we want to protect ourselves from a virus, and there's an extent to that, but there's also another extent where it's leaving the population open for all these other different issues, and those need to be addressed too. So the issues that it's bringing up are the high levels, obviously the levels of emotional stress, depression. We're being forced to essentially face, especially again with burnout, what you're trying to distract yourself from in our distraction burnout society. Okay. So I hope you found that helpful. I want you to know that, there's many people that are, continually trying to help others and reach out, that you are not alone if you are feeling that way. And there is an end to all of this. Okay. Just what I do want you guys to understand is that, it's important right now to really look at your patterns and to not ignore what's coming up for you emotionally, and to learn from that, to make your life better, to make healthier choices, to understand what was serving you and what wasn't serving you. And that will help you to understand and create a better life going forward. If you were somebody who was continually having fast food every day and you're stressed out, and you realize over the past year that you gained weight because you're going through the drive-through every day, or you were ignoring specific things that you weren't letting go of, because you didn't want to face that or anything like that. Like, we do those things as humans, so this is the time to really think of those things. And it can be a scary time, but it's also a great This is a super big gift in some ways for those of us who aren't on the front lines, for those of us who are trying to do our best, in society. It's an important time for the rest of us to really delve into this topic and some of our underlying issues and battles that we face every day. So I hope you found that helpful. And I'm going to do a live. I'm going to try and get on here live. Last week I took a little bit of a hiatus just to kind of collect myself. But I'm thinking of all of you and try to stay positive as much as possible, and keep doing things to help with your creativity. Okay, doing things to help with your creativity, movement, and exercise is really important. Okay, have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.